Hi, I'd like you to join me, Terry McCosker, as we look at some of the issues facing our finite world. My grandchildren will still be around in 2090, and I'm quite concerned about what the world is going to look like at that time.
Why should we bother about soil carbon? After all, it's only something that's in the ground. I read this quote some time ago: "Man is a funny animal. He can only read the writing on the wall when his back is up against it." But I wonder, is our back far enough up against it yet? I consider that our generation is the locust generation because we've consumed absolutely everything in front of us. We've got a world population growth that over the last 200 years has added over 6 billion people, and we're headed to about 9 billion people by 2050. It's considered that we have either reached or around about peak oil. In other words, a lot of our non-renewable energy resources are now starting to diminish relative to the rate at which we're using them. And is there peak phosphorus in the world? The data would indicate that perhaps we've passed peak phosphorus as well. And that's a very scary thing for agriculture, which relies very heavily in all aspects of production on having phosphorus as a key element. Is there peak ecological water? We could consider, if we look at some of the major aquifers of the world, the Ogallala aquifer in the US, the Saudi Arabia aquifer, the North China Plain aquifer, and many, many aquifers in India. They're non-renewable fossil water. And as we take water out of those, within the next 25 years to 30 odd years, it's expected that we will run out of water in many of those aquifers. And there's probably around 1 billion people at the moment being fed from irrigation from those aquifers. Is there peak human health? Today's generation is the first generation in US history not expected to live longer than their parents. And that must be some indictment on the way we're doing things today. Have we reached peak agricultural land? We're currently losing agricultural land at the rate of about 17 million hectares a year to erosion and desertification. We're also losing land to national parks, urban development, and mining. So on the one hand, we have a land resource diminishing, a water resource diminishing, and a population growing, which is indicating that somewhere in the future, we're going to hit a crunch. Franklin Roosevelt once said that a nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. And history is abound with nations that have destroyed themselves and lost their civilizations as a result. Over the last 200 years in the developed world, we've been transferring wealth from agriculture and the rural areas into the urban landscapes. And so we've left now and throughout the world with poverty and poor communities within the rural landscape. What carbon trading allows us to do over the next 100 years is start to return some of that wealth from the city landscapes to the country landscapes. And in the next sessions, we'll talk a lot more about how we can actually achieve that goal.